within the boundaries of Bryn Mawr Park, between I-395 and Edsel Road. And the stream has been experiencing some significant erosion in various stretches of the stream, which is currently putting park trails and other utility infrastructure at risk. This has led to unsafe conditions adjacent to some existing social trails that go through the park, and the stream has begun to migrate above and close to some existing sanitary sewer and water utilities that run parallel to the stream on the eastern bank. This erosion has also led to some tree loss, which, you know, as they fall down and get into the stream, they tend to block things up, which feeds into other problems like flooding. These trees can be carried downstream by heavy storms and cause additional damage to infrastructure and property. We also are required to meet certain federal and state level regulatory requirements when it comes to things like water quality and water quantity, such as the Clean Water Act, the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance, and so that's another reason why this project is ultimately needed. Some of the impacts that may be experienced as a result of this project would be various stages of trail or park closures throughout the construction portion of this project. Along with that, there would be construction traffic as well out on Edsel Road, and some tree removal during the process of constructing the stream improvements. Some of the primary goals that we hope to achieve with this project would be to, of course, protect that existing utility infrastructure, the sanitary sewer and water line that are right there next to the stream, to ultimately avoid any damage to and disruption of service to those systems, as well as increase safety for people utilizing the park for its trail systems, and hopefully make things much nicer and safer out there for everyone. So on this slide, we can see some examples of why this project is needed. In the pictures on the left, you'll see some really significant erosion occurring. You may be able to see at the top of this slope, there is some orange fencing, which is adjacent to one of those social trails I was referring to. This is somewhere between 10 and 20 feet of drop, depending on where along that slope you stand, and just creates a really unsafe condition for anyone who might be walking through that section of the park. You can also see some downed trees, which will lead to issues with flooding. You can see that there's trash accumulating within that debris, which of course brings down the aesthetic value of this park. And without those trees in place, that leads to more erosion, flooding, and other issues. On the right, we have a picture of the design plans that shows the stream migrating above and close to the sanitary sewer and water line that are parallel to the stream, and also beginning to migrate close to an existing asphalt trail that runs along there. The stream has begun to migrate above the sanitary sewer, and if left unchecked, could stand to damage that system. So when we are planning a stream restoration project, we follow an approach that's known as natural channel design. This is a a framework for restoring streams in a way that is meant to emulate natural river and stream processes that you would see occur over time. This design approach incorporates the use of natural materials such as rock and wood, as well as other native vegetation installed along the stream in order to reach a stable condition and achieve the goals that we're setting out to achieve for any given project. And we'll go into some of these particular practices a little bit later in the presentation. The goal, of course, is to improve the health and function of the stream and ultimately have it look like the picture you see on this slide, in that we want to get as close as we can to it feeling like no one's been out there in the first place, and that this has been occurred naturally. So this project will be broken into two main segments, which would be separated by a pedestrian bridge that is located in the middle of the park. And there are currently two design alternatives being proposed, each with their own separate pros and cons. Both alternatives would include the use of in-stream features and other structures to improve the stability of the channel, as well as pull that channel away from the existing trails and utility infrastructure. Alternative one is closer to the existing alignment, the current existing alignment of the stream throughout the entire project, which would ultimately lead to less impact directly to the stream and forest community, although it would require more significant or robust protections along the banks to help offset some of the energy impact experience from the flow of water through the stream. Alternative number two has more significant alterations to the alignment, pulling that stream further away from those existing utilities. And on the right, you can see a good example of that, wherein we're pulling the stream banks further away from where they currently are and creating a much smoother alignment throughout that section of the stream. This alternative, of course, would lead to some higher impact to trees in certain areas, but targets a more stable channel geometry, which would in turn lead to less significant use of things like rock along the stream banks, since we're achieving a better reduction of energy in the flow of the stream by flattening some of those bends out. Ultimately, we think we would probably go with a combination of both alternatives in order to minimize the amount of impact that we have to the stream and the tree community out there, while still trying to achieve a stable system. So we are looking at a proposed construction entrance on Collier's Lane, which is the entrance road into the park. And we would be utilizing the vacant baseball field out there on park property to use that for staging of equipment and materials throughout the construction of the project. Next, we'll talk about some examples of the in-stream structures and features that we use on these projects. So this natural channel design relies heavily on the use of wood and rock and other natural ways of achieving the goal of stabilizing the stream and preventing further erosion and any sort of damage to property or infrastructure. You can see in the picture a good example of some of multiple different elements. We have the rocks along the stream bank to help dissipate some of the energy experienced from the flow of the water, as well as wood implements to divert water back into the center of the stream and protect those bends even further. These in-stream structures help to slow the water down by increasing surface roughness of the channel, both in the bed and along the stream banks, and can help keep the stream locked in place and really prevent erosion from getting any worse, as well as providing additional habitat for aquatic life, which has other benefits for the system. So one consideration as we move through the design process is going to be the removal of trees in various sections of the stream and in the park. Both of these design alternatives would require the removal of trees. Alternative 2 would have a slightly higher impact, but this includes a higher ratio of trees that have been assessed as either poor or dead. The trees that we remove in these projects we try to reuse them in the rest of the site as much as we can, so that we're not just tearing things down and tossing it. The areas that are impacted by this tree removal would be reforested with native trees and other native vegetation in order to offset that impact. And we will be working with a team of landscape architects and arborists in order to help minimize our impact to the tree community out there as we move through the design process, particularly good specimen trees, which are assessed in good or excellent condition and have a high value to the community. On this slide, we can see some pictures of some examples of the types of vegetation that we installed during or with these projects. This may not be representative of what is included in the final design plans, but having these trees and plants along the stream help to prevent erosion by locking soil in place with their root systems, and also work to improve water quality by taking up various pollutants and other nutrients that we are required to treat as part of the regulatory requirements I mentioned earlier in the presentation. On this slide, you'll see a couple of pictures which show an example of what we hope to achieve with these sort of projects. You'll see on the left what things looked like before the stream was restored. There's a lot of bank erosion and exposed root systems, some tree debris down in the channel itself. And on the right is what we hope and aim for it to look like after construction is completed and there's been some time for vegetation to reestablish and look nice and healthy. The stream is protected and there's less chance for erosion. Habitats are coming back, and that's what we are looking to achieve with any of these projects. Some next steps. Throughout the design process, we will have additional updates for the community. We have these at specific stages throughout the design. as things progress, and just to keep everyone informed and provide additional opportunities for questions or input. We are looking to have a complete design by mid to late spring of 2025, at which point we would move into the permitting process, which would then lead into construction. The dates for construction are currently to be determined based on completion of the design and that permitting process. And once construction is done, we would go into a monitoring period, which lasts typically about 1 year, depending on if any issues with vegetation taking hold or other issues with the project are noticed. But yeah, that monitoring period typically lasts about 1 year. And with that, the main portion of my presentation is concluded, which will open up time for questions, feedback, discussion regarding the intent for this project. And yeah, would love to